Okay, so let's get this party started. My name's Mark Walmer. I'm an attorney in Lancaster County. I've been practicing criminal law for 35 years, and I've been asked to do a video about the pardon process and how to get an expedited pardon review of a marijuana conviction. First, I need to start by explaining what is a pardon and what is an expungement. Criminal records in Pennsylvania are basically of two types. They're either allegations, criminal charges that were brought, or they're actually criminal convictions that resulted in a finding of guilt. The expungement statute says that there are certain charges that you were never convicted of that can be expunged off your record. In short, or in brief, those are an underage consumption charge for drinking underage can be expunged when you turn the age of 21. A summary offense like retail theft or disorderly conduct can be expunged after 5 years have gone by with no additional convictions. An ARD program or a disposition where you did probation without a conviction, such as ARD or a Section 17 program, those were never convictions, so they can be expunged. A juvenile record can be expunged after you reach the age of 18 with certain different criteria and evaluations. And a charge that has been pardoned by the governor can be expunged, as well as the fact that if you've over the age of 70 and you've been out of trouble for 10 years, you can get anything expunged, including convictions. And finally, if you've been dead for 3 years, you can get anything expunged. That one isn't used very much in my experience. So everything that is not expungible that I've just mentioned needs to be pardoned. That means felony and misdemeanor convictions can only be removed after they are pardoned by the governor. The pardon process starts by completing a pardon application. A pardon application has to include the criminal information, the criminal docket entries, the criminal complaint and affidavit that were brought against you. It has to include your answers to 3 questions, such as what have you done with your life since the charge or since the conviction? Why do you need the pardon, and how is the conviction holding you back? Either a pardon coach or a pardon attorney or anyone who wants to file a pardon then assembles everything, fills out the pardon application, which is a PDF form that's given by the Board of Pardons, and then the pardon application and all of the attachments and documentation get filed. Once it's filed with the board will acknowledge it, and it will basically go into a queue of hundreds, possibly thousands of cases to be reviewed by the board. The board is 5 people that are appointed that review this. The chairman of the board is the lieutenant governor, and there's 4 other individuals that review these, and they each get a vote. It's been taking about 2 years, plus or minus, for an application to reach the board, where they will first of all vote to decide whether to give the applicant a public hearing or not. And if the applicant gets at least 2 votes out of the 5, then they're given a chance to do a public presentation, which has mostly been on Zoom for the past year during the COVID lockdown. And after the presentation, usually the next day, the board will vote on whether they think the applicant should be recommended for a pardon. If the applicant gets at least 3 out of the 5 board members to vote in favor, then the application is sent to the governor with a recommendation that a pardon issue. The governor then is the final vote, the 6th vote. He doesn't have to issue a pardon, but mostly with the board's recommendations within about 3-4 months after the pardon is forwarded to him, he will issue a pardon. At that point, the applicant is best advised to file an expungement in the county of conviction, because if you recall, one of the last things that can be expunged is a conviction that has been pardoned by the governor. And so the expungement is what actually removes the conviction from the Pennsylvania State Police criminal history and other national databases, like the FBI. Marijuana cases are special. After Lieutenant Governor Fetterman traveled 67 counties last year and held public meetings, it became clear that most of Pennsylvanians believe that marijuana should be decriminalized or legalized, and that marijuana convictions were derailing an awful lot of people in terms of finding employment, housing, and education. And so the Board of Pardons created an expedited review process. Now, the process of preparing and filing the pardon application is exactly the same. But if a person is trying to clear a marijuana-related charge, whether that's possession or whether that's marijuana paraphernalia or whether that's a felony marijuana charge, there's a small checkbox on the pardon application that indicates that it is to be expedited. My understanding is that the expedited marijuana-related pardons are fast-tracked in a way. We're expecting them to be reviewed in as little as a year, and it's possible that they would not even need to have a public presentation in front of the board. So the board would basically use the parole board or the board of Pennsylvania Board of Parole to research and investigate and verify the facts in the application. But then once it was clear that this was a marijuana-related offense, I think the pardon would issue much quicker, more like a year instead of a year and a half. So that is what the expedited review program is for marijuana-related offenses. The only offenses that are eligible for this are marijuana-related offenses. Now, this means if a person has a marijuana-related offense that could be expedited, but maybe they also have some thefts on an unrelated docket, or maybe some DUIs on an unrelated docket, they cannot be expedited. The marijuana would have to go on an expedited review by itself, and the other charges or the other convictions would still have to be explained. Also, if you have a marijuana conviction, but also maybe there was other contraband or a crack pipe or cocaine or something like that on the same criminal complaint, that is not eligible for expedited review. And my understanding is it's really targeted at marijuana and marijuana-related offenses, including felonies and misdemeanors. In terms of when you can apply, I think it's pretty much a green light. There's probably a small distinction between having a marijuana-related felony and a marijuana-related possession, but the possession charges basically could file for an expedited pardon review immediately after conviction. But I want to pause here, because if you have a simple misdemeanor marijuana charge, you should be trying to get a diversionary program that avoids a conviction. If you can avoid the conviction, you can move straight forward with an expungement after you completed your diversionary program. If you're made to take a conviction either to marijuana or paraphernalia, then you have to go through this pardon process, which is much longer. The way to apply for an expedited pardon is to go to the Board of Pardons website, and you can download a form and start walking yourself through the process. They do have an explanation sheet at the back of the applicant packet that explains how to do it. I think maybe the trickiest part is just requesting the court records that need to come from the clerk of courts in the county of conviction, but that's also doable. And so that's my overview of the expedited review process of marijuana-related convictions in front of the Pennsylvania Board of Pardons. My website is recorderacer.net. My name is Mark Walmer, W-A-L-M-E-R, and my website is recorderacer.net. Let's start clearing records. Thank you.